Now, Kelly, over the weekend, you had a big family dinner get-together at a restaurant.
Yeah, this was not this past weekend, the weekend before last. All right, so my husband and his brothers had like a brothers weekend, and so I was going to meet them for dinner Saturday evening. We had reservations. I don't want to say the restaurant because I don't think this is usual. From what I know, I'd never been there before, so it was all of our first time there. But I checked with somebody else who's gone there several times, and this has never happened to them there. So I don't want to name the restaurant because it might have just been an individual person who did this. But my husband and his brothers got there first. I met them there. And when they arrived and gave the name for the reservation, the gal at the reservation desk or whatever, what's it called? The hostess. Thank you. The host stand said, we need the table in 90 minutes. We need the table back in 90 minutes.
How many people?
An hour and a half.
Party?
5 of us.
Okay.
And she said, we need the table back in 90 minutes, like an hour and a half. Like basically, you have an hour and a half to eat and leave. I have never in my life been told how long I have to sit at a table. Now, it's a really crowded restaurant, and I sort of understand that people camp out at a table and never leave. And we're always very conscious of that. In fact, I don't think I've ever stayed longer than an hour at a restaurant. So we may have been maybe an hour 15, and we cleared out. We weren't looking to make any trouble.
Right.
But it was really
trouble.
It was very off-putting. And I don't know if I'll ever go back there. It was good food. We had a decent experience. But that was off-putting right from the get-go. For you to tell me when we walk in, you have an hour and a half.
Yeah, I don't want to stress over how long I've been there.
We need your table back in an hour and a half. Like, right out front. Has that ever happened to you guys?
No.
No, never where I was told that in advance. There have been a couple of times where I felt like I was being pressured, like to go.
Yeah, you were being given hints.
Yeah, like, come on, move on, folks. You can get up and go now.
So we always, Charlie and I, we go out to dinner every weekend. So we always, like, if the restaurant starts getting crowded, we're like, we need to give up the table. Like, we definitely are not looking to keep the wait staff from earning money. So we get in and out every weekend. But this was a little more unusual because we had a 5-person party. And I don't know if they thought we were going to just, sit there for a long time and not turn the table over. And they obviously had another reservation set for an hour and a half after we were there. But she told us right up front, you got to get out of here in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
In so many words. But she said we need the table in an hour and a half.
I've never heard of the hourglass being set down on the table and your time limit starts when you sit down. That is a little odd.
It's off-putting. It made me feel instantly like, maybe we'll just go somewhere else. Like,
now, I do feel for restaurants, and I believe we were talking about this off the air, like places like Buffalo Wild Wings who often have UFC fights. I feel bad for those servers because you get the high school kids that come in, they order, like I would make that 21 and up. Because you get the high school kids that come in, they're not going to do anything but buy one pop and get free refills all night. They might get one meal, but they'll sit there for 4 hours. So that server cannot make any more money off that table after their initial wing and soda order. Whereas if you're an adult, you might do the same thing, but odds are you or somebody with you is going to buy a beer or two, so at least you're making money off them for the rest of the night. I would either charge an admission fee or charge 21. But for the average dinner goer to come sit at a table and be told 90 minutes and you're out, that's a little, I can see where you would be put off by that because that's a little odd.
Yeah, well, it definitely did not start things out on the right foot for me. And I get it, and I can see it from the server's point of view, but it was just weird. I mean, we spent a good amount of money there. There was definitely alcohol purchased, and we left well before our hour and a half was up.
The way you said there was definitely alcohol purchased. Did you get hammered drunk?
No.
There was definitely alcohol purchased, if you know what I mean.
They made money off our table, and we did leave in under an hour and a half. That absolutely happened, and I never, especially after being told that, I would never have, ventured to stay beyond that. But I just thought it was an odd way. It wasn't very welcoming. Let's put it that way. It wasn't very welcoming.
Ron says it's the approach, Kelly. I would have said extremely busy tonight, so if you're able to keep it to around 2 hours, that'd be possible.
That's kind of nice. It's a nicer way to say it, not we need your table back in an hour and a half. Like to say, hey, we're super busy. If you guys can get... Yeah, I like that approach.
All right, so Dave's not having any of this in his life. He said, like if my girlfriend complains that I'm going fishing for 12 hours, guess what? I'm going to go for 24. If the restaurant tells me they want me out in an hour and a half, guess who's staying for 2 to 3 hours?
Yeah, I would never do that, but I also probably won't ever go back.
Yeah, I just think that's an odd way to do it. And I've heard of servers go, man, I've got campers because they've sat here the whole time. And I understand you can't turn the table. If you can't turn the table, you can't make money. But, there's a way to go about doing that.
Audrey said, as an experienced professional, that is bad customer experience. They set the wrong stage from you first walking in.
Yeah. All right, so if this ever happened to you, let us know. Text us, 99700. Or, what is the strangest thing that ever happened to you at a restaurant, or the strangest thing you were ever told by the employees at the restaurant if you had some weird experience? Because that's just one I've never heard of it in either. My life. Never been told that ever.
Like I said, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It was a little off-putting, but I was surprised, I guess, more than anything, to be given a time limit, which we would never overstay that anyway, even if nobody said anything. We just don't hang around like that. We're very aware that people need to turn tables over and everything. So that's always in our consciousness anyway. But it was wild to start our dinner at it. And none of us had ever been there before. It was a new experience, a new restaurant. It was great food and otherwise a great experience. But it was a little weird to a point where I feel like, I'm not sure if we'll go back or not.
I have a question for you. Sometimes in the restaurant's menu, they have a gratuity will be added to the bill automatically, blah, 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 for parties of certain size.
Yeah.
Did they have a disclaimer in the menu that said, a time limit?
No, not that I noticed.
Okay.
I wasn't looking for it, and I wasn't reading any small print or anything.
I'm just curious, because that would be the way out of that. Because sometimes, larger parties, they just add the gratuity, and then some people tip over, some people don't. But that's to protect the server, so at least they get something out of the deal.
Oh, that's fine. I don't mind a built-in tip. Truly.
Right. Well, this is interesting now, and so I kind of understand this. This is a tough position for the restaurant to be in. Doug said my brother's family was in from out of town, and they went to a restaurant. They were waiting for their table, and the restaurant said they had a table for them, but that there were still people at the table who had been there for 3 hours already, and they couldn't seat them until those people got up and left. And he said they waited for another hour before they finally got that table.
Yeah, see, I feel like that's a patron. That's an issue with somebody not having any sense about them, that they are using a table and preventing their wait staff from making money.
Yes.
As long as you're sitting there for hours on end, you're preventing your waiter or, the wait staff from making money. That is nuts to do that. I mean, you are really self-centered. And that's the thing, is that we're not that way. And I already know that. So I guess maybe I was offended because I'm like, you don't even know me. I would never sit here for more than an hour and a half and keep you from making money.
I think as the consumer, it is your responsibility to read the room. And I say that, let's say we're all out. There's a party of 9 of us. And we've all been done eating for a while, and everybody's just kind of sitting around talking, and you look towards the lobby or whatever, and you see 30 people waiting. At that point in time, get off your ass and leave.
Right.
But at the same time, if the restaurant closes at 11 and you're sitting around and it's 10 till 11 and you're wanting to try to order something else or whatever, you read the room, you leave. Those kind of things need to come into play.
Okay, so what if you're there, in Kelly's situation, it was family getting together that doesn't see each other all the time, and so you're say you're ordering more snacks and drinks, and you're spending more money, you're raising the tipping well. Is that a good reason to stay later? Maybe a server. Maybe I need to ask somebody who's a server at a restaurant.
Yeah, I think it must be tricky when it's a place that does take... They're seating on reservations. This is a place you don't just walk in and dine. That must be tricky to manage reservations.
As someone who is a server in college, I can tell you 2 things. If it's toward the end of the night, or I feel like I'm getting cut and I don't want to get another table, I want you to sit there for a while because I don't want to be sat again, so I want to leave. But at the same time, if it's early in the night and I'm trying to burn and make some money and you're still sitting there, then I'm kind of getting a little antsy if it's been a while.
I don't know. I've never heard of this place. Mike from 7-Up. I'll mention it just because of what he said. It's Nancy's Diner on High Street. He said their slogan is "Eat it and beat it."
Yes. I don't know that place is. I think they closed. Didn't they?
Okay.
Nancy's always had
no
a line
idea.
out the door. It was just a breakfast place. You go sit and eat. Yeah. And they had a line out the door all the time. People just waiting for someone to get up after they ate.
Jeff Smith said, "Oh, hell no." And you had a reservation, so not a walk-in, and she did that. I don't care how good the food is, not going back there now.
Laura Williams said, "I eat slow, but I tip well, so that would have upset me."
Yeah, I guess, like I said, I wasn't upset, but it was, I don't know any other way to describe it other than it made me like, it was, I keep saying it, sorry for repeating myself, but it was like a little off-putting, but not horribly, but just like, that is weird. Why would you say that at the get-go? I've never been here before.
Based on Kelly's experience, we asked the question on the air and on our socials as well. Has a restaurant ever done anything to you that could be considered rude? You can jump in wherever. Drizzle said he had a waitress, or they had a waitress, tell him a Coors Light was a Blue Moon, and she didn't know what a Blue Moon was. Literally, they argued about it. I'm like, what? How are you going to perpetrate a Coors Light as a Blue Moon?
No.
Completely different taste.
Very different. Now, Trey said they might have committed that table to a large party after you. Of course, that's not your fault, but he said as someone who worked as a host for many years, that is not completely uncalled for.
Yeah, I don't, and like I said, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. In all of my years of life, I've never experienced that at a restaurant. Number one. And number two, isn't there like a better way to approach that?
Yeah, that's a lot of people had mentioned the approach of it.
Troy says, I'm not a restaurant owner, but if they take reservations where there are many 6-place tables available, 6-place tables are totally different than 2-person.
Right.
And a 2-person table.
No, and you're right. I don't know about that. We did have a 6-person table. So how about this? How about when you make the reservation, they say, hey, just to let you know, we have a 90-minute limit on reservation. So I'm happy to make the reservation for you. Is that okay? Like, do you just so you understand.
I think it's different. If you know going in, that's one thing. But to be told when you sit down is a completely different situation.
This is a great text from Sam. He said it's up to the restaurant to give you good service to make sure you're out of there by the time the next reservation is booked, not your responsibility to make sure you eat faster. So, like, make sure they get your order taken, get your food out to you to help make that happen.
Yeah, I feel like we were treated as a problem.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, you're kind of approached as if you're going to be a problem. Yeah. And I think that's a weird approach.
Steven on our Facebook wall said they'd have had that table back right there that moment and some sign language to go along with it. And Stacy said had that happen in a restaurant as well, said because they're so busy, they have so many reservations, we had no more than 2 hours.
Yeah, like I said, maybe a better way to do it is when you're making the reservation. If you're told, look, 90-minute limit on the tables. If you still want to make the reservation, happy to do it. Love to have you.
All right. Matt said, I've been a server, bartender, restaurant manager for 25 years. You can't give people a time limit on their table. They would feel just like Kelly did every time. People camp. It happens. That's life. Mark said many places started doing this during COVID because of constrained spaces. Now, I get that. If your restaurant space is cut in half and you've got to turn double amount of tables and you need that time, that's a little understanding. However, they said now it's like starting a gun when you say to people at arrival, that's ridiculous. Which is why I said, what do? Put an hourglass on the table, go, all right, here you go.
That's right.
Well, thank you for all your texts. You can also keep posting on the Blitz Facebook page. I look forward to reading some of those stories throughout the day.